Hey guys, it's Rudy. I just wanted to touch on this topic that Den Keeper Truth and Reality Vlogger brought up. I guess he goes by Den Keeper or Den Keeper Truth. I'm a fan of yours, man. Hopefully you see this video. And I really wanted to talk about this whole racism topic because to me, one of the first things you said in this video was that you don't want to go the racist route, and I would highly recommend that you do not. But not for the reasons a person would assume. I would say do not go the racist route only because what it does to your soul, what it does to your spirit, that spirit of anger I've mentioned in comments before on your YouTube channel, on your videos. And there's a lot to it. There's a way more to it than you'd ever realize. That spirit of anger that people have is what truly controls them. To me, that's the power and nature of Satan or the devil or whatever you want to call it. You can call it the system. You can call it the nut milk. I really don't care what label you want to place on it. But I'm making this video because my comments are not showing up on your channel anymore. And I don't know if it's because I'm not saying YouTube Susan approved language. I'm engaging in wrong think, basically. But basically, I'm going to read out the comments I left since they're not showing up on your channel. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming YouTube. I'm blaming Susan, basically. My comments are getting shadow banned. Basically, when I say a word that's not system approved, that's not mainstream media approved. A big reason I'm making this video is because you had mentioned that you believe that the reason your YouTube channel isn't picking up traction is because the majority of truthers, quote unquote, and I don't like that term by the way, the truth community are composed of Caucasians or white people or mostly white men. And I left a comment basically maybe explaining why that is and also putting in a more spiritual perspective. Have a unique perspective, mate. I don't dabble in the truth community, but Caucasians are the majority in the West and have dabbled in these ideas a lot longer than the other races of the world. Take the Greeks and Romans, for example. Think about how long someone like Quantum of Conscious has been doing his thing since the Texas Shrug days, and how long someone like you have just touched on the topic in comparison. It's the Matthew principle in action. It's also called the Pareto distribution, by the way. And I do a little Bible quote, which I'm not a Bible person, but I quoted it nevertheless because this saying always stuck with me. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And I say this shit is all biblical, and it really is all biblical. What we're going through now, I'm not reading this comment anymore, but what we're going through now is entirely 100% biblical. We are still living in the Old Testament. And I know that's kind of weird for someone like me to say or for anyone to say, but I'm telling you, these stories in the Bible play out in real life way more often than you think. This relationship, this enmity that men and women have with each other, this enmity with the races, enmity with anything really, skin color, height, it doesn't matter. It's all biblical. Don't let this phony idea of racism fool you. It's racism in quotes, by the way. It's a system-approved, made-up word meant to divide and cause anger. Whites aren't going out of their way to make sure you don't get subscribers. This is all on you. Don't give in to these fake words. Your race has nothing to do with the situation. And believe me when I tell you that race has little to nothing to do with the situation. I'm about to get into that in a minute here. I left another comment, of course, isn't showing up because I'm shadow banned. Maybe not shadow banned, but my comments definitely aren't pushing through, at least on this account. Like I said, I'm saying naughty words. I'm engaging in wrong think. We're living in an Orwellian nightmare. If you're just out for subscribers and views, then maybe you need to reevaluate why you're doing this. Appreciate the audience you have. As a Latino who grew up in South Texas, I can assure you that it wasn't whites that kept me down. If anything, it was always a white man who extended a hand, gave me a job, or gave me free advice. You do you, man. Comparing yourself to others only leads to anger. And that was basically my main point of my comment here. You're comparing yourself to other people, which you shouldn't be doing. You should only be comparing yourself to you. You do you. You do what your skill set You do what you have your particular skill set and you do that, is what I'm basically saying. You don't worry about what other people are doing. You can get inspired by other people, but you don't have anger or enmity towards them because they have something you do not. That's being a victim. And I left another comment somewhere here. Hold on a second. And I don't really understand. I'm about to get into this. I don't understand this from what this commenter said. Christopher Siderus? I don't know how to pronounce that. Why aren't there more Hispanic YouTuber channels or Hispanic truther channels? But why is that even a thing? Why even think that? And I've said it here, it may not be a point of interest for Latino people. This truther stuff is already pretty niche to begin with. Going off statistics alone, what are the odds of such an esoteric topic being engaged by such a low population of people? And who speak English, there's plenty of factors involved. And if it isn't super obvious to you, by the way, I am Latino, I'm Hispanic, whatever the fuck you want to call me, I really don't care. All four of my grandparents were from Mexico, so there's no... And if there is any Caucasian or whatever blood in me, Spaniard, Greek, Roman, I don't know about it because I've never done a DNA test. It doesn't fucking matter to me. I'm me. I'm a child of God. I don't dabble in this worldly stuff. And that's what it is. It's worldly stuff. And that's my main point of this comment here. Anytime you use the word racism doesn't exist, by the way. Anytime you use the word racism, you're dabbling in system-approved buzzwords. You're using their words, and you're falling for the trick that the system is playing, the not milk. Absolutely 100%. There's no such thing as racism, I promise you. Caucasians are not sitting around thinking about what they want to do to Hispanics or blacks or Asians or anything, or Jews. They're not doing that. They're not sitting around at a table thinking about what they're going to do to the Mexicans. I promise you it's not like that. And I left another comment here. Let me go and read it. And this comment is basically touching on the fact that I've been in Louisiana for 15 years. Coming from a Hispanic majority South Texas, the only thing I learned about whites is that they give zero shits about your color, your country of origin, your race, your gender. They only care about what you bring to the table, your skill set, and what's in your heart. Yeah, they got their flaws, but they're human beings like us. They're going to have arbitrary biases. All people are like this. And believe you me, it doesn't matter what your race or gender is, you're going to have some arbitrary biases. And this is the trick the system plays on you. It's the anger that controls you. It's Satan's emotion. That Satan, the emotions come straight out of hell. Including anger, including happiness. Believe me, it's happiness too. You can lump happiness in there because the minute you're happy, you're going to be brought down and it's going to cripple you. I did a video recently about the Christians in this area that sort of touches on this topic. It's essentially the fallen state of all human beings, and if it's happening in a place where I live, I can't imagine the hell that other areas in the U.S. are going through. Because this area that I live in, I've talked about this in a previous video, is majority Christian, majority Caucasian, with maybe, when I say majority, maybe like 60% whites, 40% blacks, and maybe a small percentage of Latinos and Central Americans and all the immigrants that are kind of coming around here. I wanted to use another word, but I didn't. And I'm saying, like, if an area like this that's very fundamental Christian is becoming this fallen state of an area where there's meth and there's drugs and there's so much anger and unhappiness, I can't imagine, like I said here, I can't imagine the hell that other areas in the U.S. are going through. I can't imagine living in a absolute shithole like Detroit, where you can be assaulted for being white or being black or whatever. I wanted to emphasize one more thing, and maybe it feels like I'm picking on you. I'm really not. The only reason I felt like I had to say something about this topic, because when I see somebody, especially like you, like Den Keeper, you seem so on the money when it comes to topics. But with this racism thing, I promise you, it's nothing. There is no such thing as racism, man. Like, it does not exist. It's a phony, made-up word meant to divide and conquer. It's a mind worm. It's a language. You know that all language is fake. It's language meant to deceive. Satan is the ultimate deceiver. He wants us divided and conquered. He wants the genders fighting each other. He wants the races fighting each other. This is what he wants. And when I look at your channel, I scrolled all the way down. I couldn't sort by newest for some reason, and you've been at this for about a year, and which is great. But compare yourself to someone like, and I only listen to one truther, quote unquote, and I don't like that word, but I listen to one guy, and that's Quantum Conscious and Uncanny Deduction, and y'all three are the only ones I really listen to. And Quantum Conscious, as far as I know, he's been doing this for well over a decade, 15 years, whatever it is, but he's been doing this way longer. He's got a way bigger fan base, and that's the Pareto distribution in action. He's been doing this longer than you have. These other truthers, I mean, I don't know who you're talking about. You didn't give names. It could be just some fucko out of the blue, where he gets like 20,000 subscribers within 3 months, or something ridiculous like that. You know, maybe reality shenanigans and maybe system shenanigans. I'm not going to put that off the table, but I'm telling you right now, someone like Quantum Conscious has been doing this for a long time. They've had a very, very long time to acquire a listener base, where you, on the other hand, has only been doing this for a year. I've only been doing this for what, a month and a half, and I have what, 20 subscribers, I think, which is great. I think that's amazing, because it's like I'm gonna appreciate whatever subscribers I have. Whoever wants to listen. I did 101 banana jokes yesterday. It's like whoever wants to listen to that, great, because I was just being silly. I was inspired by the banana fractal. It just happened that way, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go along with it, because I'm here to have fun. Like, this race thing, this gender thing is meant to divide and conquer, and I don't fall for that shit, because it's bullshit. I learned that, and the reason, I want you to really think about this. Who was it in your past that introduced you to the word racism, or pointed out that somebody else's color was different than yours, somebody else's race, or somebody else's living conditions, or their income, or their neighborhood? Who did that? Think about who did that. Was it your mother? Was it a family member? I guarantee you it was your mother, because that's the way mothers are. I'm not shitting on all mothers, but what I'm saying is, it was my mother that told me about this nonsense. She tried to get me angry about white people. She wanted me to hate whites because she was mediocre herself, and she hated that. I guarantee you that's what the reason was. Because she wanted to live on welfare. She wanted to live on welfare. She didn't want to work. And she wanted a scapegoat. She wanted to be a victim. She wanted to be a professional victim. That's what people, not all people, right? But people who live off the government on welfare, 9 times out of 10, 95% of the time, they're professional victims who just want to game the system. You know that as well as I do, because I've heard your story, man, and it really touched me, because I've gone through the same things you have. Maybe you might have had a little harder to me. I wouldn't doubt that, because I had it pretty well despite all things. And I'm very, very grateful of that. I'll never forget the people who helped me in my life get to where I am. But it's like, my mother was the first person to introduce me to this racism nonsense. And it is nonsense. She just didn't want to work. That's all it was. She sat around thinking about how Caucasians are just these people who want to bring her down, when it was actually Caucasians that helped her the most. It wasn't her own family, which is just the craziest part to it. And that's why I keep telling people, there's two things I cannot let go, and that's part of the reason why I'm making this video, is when somebody has anger over racism, or somebody has anger over their fathers. Because I've noticed it doesn't matter who you talk to. I've talked to a lot of people. I mean, I've worked in retail for over 20 years, and it's like I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm telling you, like, so many, like 99.999% of people, men and women, all races, hate their fathers. They hate their fathers because their mothers brainwashed them. And you're gonna meet that one or two people that in your lifetime that probably didn't have that happen to them. Their mothers were letting the fathers lead the way. They were following their husbands where they're supposed to. Their fathers and their husbands were their spiritual leaders, and that's so rare nowadays. You do not have that anymore in the United States. It used to be that way. 40s, 50s, and 60s, it used to be that way. It went downhill in the 60s. I didn't live in the 60s, but from the way I've seen it, around the 70s, this is another topic completely. I think what I really want to talk about is kind of over. But it seems to me around the 70s, when the baby boomers started becoming adults, is which shit started going downhill. Just coincidentally, right? The biggest generation, the biggest victim generation, by the way. I use victim in quotes because, man, you want to talk about professional victims? Just take a glance at the baby boomer generation, because those are the biggest professional victims you'll ever meet. But that's a topic for another day. Thanks, guys. Peace out.